Submit it in the extra credit module. I'll give you credit for being here today. Okay, so if something happens and you can't make it, watch it online and say, just put it in the extra credit module. You're not gonna get extra credit for it, but you're not gonna lose participation points. Okay? All right, good. As I was saying, for the purpose of this recording, because it's on now, we're talking about chapter 6, organization, role, and function of the police. What do police actually do? Well, what they do, you're going to find out, is really strange, weird, and unique. No two agencies will ever be alike. You could actually, even the precincts differentiate. So Los Angeles County is huge. Okay, so LAPD is huge. You could be working in one precinct and think you know everything. They transfer you to another precinct, you're starting all over again. They do things differently. I speak from the culture of working in prisons. I was taught at one prison. I spent 6 years there learning, and I think learning the right way to do things. That was at Tracy. That's where I got schooled. I got schooled. This is how we do things. This is what the manual says. This is what the penal code says. This is how we operate. And I think it was the best education I ever got. I promoted to sergeant at the age of 28. I go to Sierra Conservation Center. It's a fire camp. God, I was one of the top recruits. I did really well. And so I get hired. I go to Sierra thinking I know everything, because I just came from Tracy. And I was taught for 6 years, this is how we do things. I get to Sierra and I realize I didn't know a damn thing. Nothing. I had to start from scratch. I came from a level 4. Everybody know what levels are in prisons? 1 through 4. 4 is hardcore. Okay, that's the highest level. San Quentin falls to the level 4s. Okay, this is where your murderers go, your high profile criminals go. Level 4, maximum security. Okay, we got the armed perimeters. We didn't have electrified fences then, but we have armed perimeters. We have interior cells, meaning they don't face the outside of the fence. They're all interior. We don't have armed security in prison, only on the exterior. We don't want guns in a prison in case something happens, and inmates will have access to them. So Tracy was unique, that we didn't have any armed security inside, only on the perimeter. I get to Sierra thinking, man, I'm gonna run this place, I know what I'm doing. It's a level 1. The lowest level security. These guys are getting ready to go fight fires. That's their whole mission. So I remember the first time, inmates walking down the yard wearing shorts. I about went through the roof. And it said SAP, SAP, on the back. So I jacked them up. I said, what the hell are you doing? You're altering state clothing, and an officer had to come. Hey, Sarge. He goes, no, we give them those. Now, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, SAP means state altered paint. I said, you gotta be kidding. We give them shorts? Yeah. I said, okay. And I cut this guy loose. What else do we do here? That's when I realized I didn't know a damn thing. So I had to learn all over again. No two prisons. Oh, then I get to San Quentin. San Quentin, when I told them, yeah, I know everything, because I know the book. Because we don't go by that book. What do you mean? You know, yeah, we don't do what everybody else does. I'm talking about the penal code, the Title 15. These are the rules. They literally told me we don't do that. We do it San Quentin way. And boy, they weren't kidding. I went through about 3.5 years of hell. Taught that as long as you follow the book, you do what you're supposed to do, you're good. Not at San Quentin. You do as you're told, or you get slapped around. And I did. And that's another story for another day. No two prisons are the same. No two police agencies are the same. They're unique. They're different. The personnel is different. Tracy, real quick, the demographic. It was well represented, maybe about 35 to 40% white, about 30% Hispanic and Mexicans, and maybe about 25% black and some others. So that wasn't a bad makeup. I get to Sierra, 99% white. 98% white male. There was a couple of white females. 1% black and Hispanic, Mexican. That was me and my partner Jones. We worked at Tracy together. We were both cops together. I promoted, he transferred. That was what got them their diversity. One Mexican and one black guy. We're a diverse institution. Now, but it was one of the best places I worked. Think about in the mountains, right? Rednecks. What the hell are you gonna hire? These are a bunch of good old boys up there. They're more worried about fishing than hunting. That's how they pronounced it, hunting. Not hunting, hunting. I said, okay, great people. Okay, nothing wrong with it. That's just what their hiring pool was. I get to St. Quentin, what do you think the demographic looked like there? Think about it. It shifted. About 60 to 65% black, predominantly. About 30-something percent Mexican. And Mexicans, by the way, they call it drive the car. They drove the car. They were in charge. We had a Mexican warden. And then the rest was about white and others, about 10-15%, something like that. It was really a unique makeup, and it worked. Great prison, some of the best people I ever met. What I learned, the takeaway is, don't judge a book by the cover. Get to know these people. If you ever get employed in any of these organizations and you walk in and you're a person of color and you look and say, oh my God, looks like I walked into a Cracker Barrel. What the hell's going on, right? Give them a chance. Same thing the other way around. You're a white guy and you go to East LA, right? And you're going, oh my God, a bunch of lowriders over here. How am I ever going to get along with these people? You got to get to know them. Don't judge the book by the cover. Get to know the people, okay? Everything changes depending on where you're at. Traditional Metropolitan Police Department. This is just a flow chart, for lack of a better term, of what the makeup of a typical agency may look like. Up above, the Civilian Advisory Board, chief or a police, and then the planning, the crime mapping, they call that the IT people. The main hire, of course, is the center one, the chief. You get a good chief, you're off to a good start. Chiefs are traditionally elected. They're elected officials. You have a question?
Yeah, can anyone be on the Civilian Advisory Board?
Depends. Usually they're looking for ombudsman. I was on a few of them as, I was on the county's grand jury. Yeah, I was on the county's grand jury for 2 years. I chaired the Law and Public Safety Committee. So because of that, I got to be part of the advisory board. But yes, any citizen has the right to be a part, but it's how do you get there? Okay, you gotta know the right channels, be in the right place at the right time. And once you become a part of that, boy, it's hard to get out. They kept calling me and asking me to come back. I said, nah, I'm done. You get burned out, listening to the same old problems over and over. I just got tired. But it does work. What it is, guys, if you look at the whole thing, it's a check and balance. Okay, you got the chief responsible for everything under him. You got the advisory board over here making sure, and that was our job, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Who pays these salaries? Think about it. Where's this money coming from?
The local government, state government.
Local government. That's you. That's me. It's our tax dollars. There has to be a check and balance. If they're saying they're spending $2 million on the latest equipment to arm their officers, I want to see that equipment. Where is it? Demonstrate it to me. How is this expense actually helping the officer in the street? That's where the citizens come in, the advisory board. And yeah, they wield a lot of authority. It's not just a silent check that says, oh, they really can't do anything about it. Hell yeah, they can. Okay. So if you want to be a part of it, check it out. Okay, so there's the rest of it. Internal affairs, the affirmative action. I don't even know if they call it affirmative action anymore. Recruitment and promotion. I think they changed it to diversity and equity or something like that. But they do the same thing. Making sure, my position, I want to make sure the right person gets the job. And then if I got two candidates, right? One's white and one's of color. And I know my department needs a little color, but they're both qualified. Yeah, I want to hire the person to give them the chance, give them the opportunity. Is it fair? I don't know. That's up to you. But it is, and this is what I was taught, a way to correct past practice of discrimination. Okay? I'm not gonna get up on my soapbox and talk about all the wrongs that were done in the past, there's plenty of them, but at least now people are aware and they're trying to make it right. Equipment, chief clerk, special services, training's always a big one. I was a training manager at one of the prisons, and they don't give us enough money to do the right training. Everything else underneath, vice patrol, juvenile prevention. So if somebody's interested, K9's not up there, but probably under patrol, and you want to fall into a specific category, here you go. And this is hierarchy at its best. It flows upward, crap comes downward. So if you're down here in the lower tier as a patrolman, yeah, you're gonna get stuck with all the crap duty. You promote, you become a supervisor or a sergeant, lieutenant, you start working your way up. I never wanted to be a sergeant. Well, I did it for 6 years, I hated it. I wanted to be a lieutenant. But the only way I knew how to get there is I had to pay my dues, so I did. I really liked being a lieutenant, hated being a sergeant. I did want to be the chief. In ours, it was called the warden, but my time was cut a little short. So I had aspirations of promoting. I was on my way, but life got in the way. Okay, but this is typical. This is how it works. Every agency might tweak it a little bit, but pretty much it's vertical. Police organization is time and rank system. You gotta pay your dues. You don't come in and say, yeah, I'm a brand new cop, I just got out of the academy, and I want to be a canine officer. I want to go out on horseback. I want to drive a boat in the river. Sheriffs get to do that. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to go to jail somewhere. That's usually where they start them off, as a detentions officer. Do a couple years, get in the jail, learn a little bit more, pay your dues. Then you get to go out to patrol. Okay, drive around, maybe in the countryside. Usually you get the less favorable, the least desirable positions. Because you're a rookie. Pay your dues. Then you could get the better jobs. Most of the time. Sometimes there's a special candidate that does come in, especially sharp, unique qualities. They'll fast track them. Didn't happen to me, but I've heard of them. I've heard it happen, and it can't happen. What do cops really do? So my son-in-law is a CHP up in Ventura, and I asked him this question. Well, what do you do besides give people tickets all the time? I go, man, nobody likes you. Yeah, I know. He gets that a lot. 6'5", 250 pounds, white guy. He's hated. He says he spends most of the time trying to persuade people he's not a bad guy. If he pulls somebody over, he says he spends more time trying to educate them not to do something, speed or whatever they were doing. Because sometimes he'll have to give them a ticket. He doesn't like writing tickets. I said, so you're the unicorn I've heard of. Because everybody else in your department's a bunch of, you know what? All they do is write tickets, especially at the end of the month when their quotas are short. He liked hearing that. He goes, there's no such thing. Because there is no quotas. Couldn't convince me, but oh well. He said there wasn't. What does an officer really do? What do you think? Street cop, where were we? Temecula PD. We'll bring it home. What do they do? Yeah, Jen?
I was gonna say maybe monitor for suspicious activity and patrol the
Okay.
streets. And I know we have like a lot of drug busts on the main freeway here.
Yeah.
I used to read about that a lot.
Well, yeah, look at how close we are to the border. Yeah.
I think to mostly obviously like keep the community safe because no matter where you go, there's still gonna be emergencies happening. So
Yeah.
they handle all the calls of a break-in or anything like that.
That's, yeah.
I think they like deal with a lot of like domestic stuff because a lot of people here like fight each other and stab each other. So.
Domestic stuff, yeah.
In regards to the close to the border.
Yeah.
As far as I know, we are the last border check up right north or south of here.
Yeah, up there on the hill?
And because of that, we have one of the largest narcotics division in the state.
Okay. So that's what we do, right? Domestic, narcotics, busts out here, service calls. Number one thing, and it varies, okay, from agency to agency and even from precinct to precinct, but they're service calls. Service calls. whether it's a domestic violence, neighbor dispute, they just respond at your house because somebody's getting a little out of line. Maybe somebody drank too much. It's Friday night. Call the cops, especially if you're Mexican. Okay, yeah, sorry guys, tequila, Mexican, don't go along. How do I know? I'm Mexican. My family's idiots when they drink. I don't like, yeah, shaking, yeah, they are. They're crazy. Well, she's the oldest sister. She's freaking a lunatic when she drinks. I go, why do you drink? She goes, I just like it. What the hell is wrong with her? Yeah, but that's what they do. So the cops are gonna go out. And usually it's family fighting family over something dumb. Well, you took my locker in high school. You're 50. They're still fighting about it. Yeah. You wore my dress at prom. I said, what the heck? Okay, so stupid things happen. You get the picture. And it doesn't matter what ethnicity you are. Okay, dumb things happen. Officers respond. The most dangerous entry for an officer. You think it's active shooting? No, you know who the bad guy is. Domestic violence. And we have a bunch of scenarios that we run up with Menifee. Domestic violence. Spouse calls. So-and-so's going berserk. I need help. So the officers show up. The officer goes in, huge guy, small spouse, just picture it. So they want to separate the two. They're still arguing. The spouse is getting a little out of hand. So either one, doesn't matter. So they're going to restrain them for their own safety. And that's what you tell them. I'm going to restrain you for your safety as well as mine. The other spouse goes crazy, attacks the officers. What do you think you're doing to my man? And it's on. Or what do you think you're doing to my girl? And it's on. Never turn your back in a domestic violence situation. You're going to get hurt. It's a good idea to separate them and you get trained for all that crap. But domestic violence, because you never know where the attack's coming from. Okay, so that is really dangerous. Service calls, administrative duties. School resource officers, if you guys remember, they were on your campuses in high school. That's their job, just to have a presence at the school. They try to befriend, but it's kind of hard. Because if a student's talking to an officer all the time, what do you call those guys? Snitches, right? Narcs, yeah, you're not gonna trust the student. But the officer does his best to try to just hang out and see what's going on. So that's just some of the things. Minor disturbances, service calls, administrative duties. Police officers are they're visible. They're out there. They're there, and the first bullet kind of tells it all. To deter crime, dissuade people from committing a crime. I was part of the grand jury in Hanford, which is Kings County. We hired a new chief of police, Carlos Mestas, right? Got him from San Jose. Good guy. And we asked him, what are some of the first things you want to do to lower the crime rates in the city, within the city limits? And his answer to this day, I use it because it was so good. Because I want to get my officers out of those damn cars. I want to put them on the street. I want them walking and talking. We hired them, but I don't know if it was just because of that response, but that was a good one. You see an officer driving around, and you're waiting for a bus. It's 100 degrees outside, and here he comes, or she, in their cruiser, air conditioned, full blast, just driving around. And think, what an ass. And he gets to drive around in air conditioning, and I'm sitting there waiting for a bus, and I'm paying his damn salary. So there's a little bad tone. But now you see that officer walking down the sidewalk. You're still on that same curb waiting for the bus, and he stops and says, how are you doing today? Can I help you with anything? You say, no, thank you, officer. And he's got, or she, they're wearing those damn vests that are hot as hell, right? And they're walking and talking and meeting people. They're breaking barriers. And that's the way you want to patrol. In Kings County, they effectively reduced crime substantially. Merchants, store owners, officers were going into their stores handing out cards. If you need anything, call me. I'm here. If you need anything, call me. Let me know how I can be of service. They work for you. And Carlos made them understand that these officers work for the community. Be a part of that darn community. Merchants were no longer afraid to call the cops. because they knew that those officers would respond and respect them. It was wonderful. It really did work. Maintain public order, respond quickly, provide aid, create a feeling within the community. Okay, I know this all sounds good. You see, especially this year with it being an election year, unity, the public officials. You see these guys on TV and they're asking for your vote. Keep in mind they're lying to you. Okay, it doesn't matter who they are. Democrat, conservative, Republican, liberal, Unitarian, Freedom Party. It doesn't matter. They all lie. Do your homework. Do your research. Find out who these candidates really are, and then vote for who you think is the best to serve that particular area. Okay, keep that in mind. Who do you want protecting your community? That's where it starts, is with these elections, because then it trickles down. Okay, so make sure you vote the correct candidate. Improving patrol. There's different ways to patrol. We're going to talk about a couple of them. Aggressive is one. An aggressive law enforcement style patrolmen take the initiative, they make arrests, they're out there, proactive policing. I'd rather have proactive than reactive. Proactive, they're out there spearheading, they're making a difference before a crime happens. Reactive, they're just reacting to whatever the call is, making the arrest, booking somebody for whatever. But if they're out there ahead of it trying to deter the crime, then you don't have to worry about it because it's not going to happen. Broken windows policy. What does that mean? Broken windows. Who can tell me? That's going to be important moving forward. Somebody broke the glass. Big deal, right? Graffiti. Big deal. Broken windows. I don't know who even coined that phrase. But what it means is there's a specific area that has substantial elevated levels of crime. And they say the broken window because that's what you can actually see. Picture an urban city, a building, residential, looks like it's abandoned, and its windows are all broken out. Graffiti all over this place. Are you going to find wholesome citizens loitering around that area? No. Who do you think you're going to find hanging around there?
Seedy characters.
I like that. Seedy. Yeah, seedy. Drug dealers, right? Drug dealers, prostitution, seedy, things that we don't want. You associate with that type of an environment. They call it the broken windows because it's kind of true. If you have an active city, we do, Murrieta and Temecula both, for graffiti. It's not so much even broken windows, but graffiti. You see graffiti out there one day, it's probably gone the next. Okay, they don't want that because it attracts those types of people. You're given the message, it's okay to go ahead and write whatever you want on these walls. It's okay to go ahead and break out the glass in these windows. We don't care. And if we don't care about that, what else don't we care about? Drug dealing, prostitution, and everything else that comes with it. So that's what they call it, the broken windows. It's just a symbol for law enforcement to try and maintain order. You see a broken window, you want to get that taken care of. If you see that graffiti, you want to get rid of it as fast as possible. Rapid response. If you ever had the need to call an officer, no matter where you live, but you had to call an officer, how fast do you want them in front of you after you hang up that phone, after you make that call?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible? 15 minutes, okay?
I guess.
10 minutes. 10 minutes, okay? Anybody ever been in a fight? Okay. Anybody ever been in a fight for your life? Okay, 30 seconds feels like an eternity. Can you imagine 5 minutes? 10 minutes? It's never fast enough. Okay, the response is never fast enough. Police departments, fire departments, they're always trying and they're working hard to reduce that response time because they understand when the call is made, they can't get there fast enough. They do their best, okay? But it's never good enough. And if you ever put in that position, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And hopefully you never are. That's not a nice place to be. Improving patrol. So how do we take what we have and make it better? There's two ways. Well, actually, there's more than two. But procedural. Concerned with making decisions that arrive at through procedures viewed as fair. There's a saying called paralysis through analysis. Anybody ever heard of that one? Paralysis through analysis.
Makes sense.
Yeah, think about it. We're faced with a situation. Maybe you're the head man in charge or head woman in charge, but you're the supervisor at the scene, and you got your guys, gals, your team around you, and you tell them, let's talk about this. We know we have a situation here. What do you think we should do? Anybody? Any feedback? I want to break the door. Good enough. What would you like? Well, let's call them and establish communication. Oh, that's good. Does that really happen? No. No. You imagine if you're the one in need, and you look out and you're saying, please come in here and help me. And you see these guys, people, and they're in a huddle, and they're discussing what they want to do. They're talking about procedure. Well, we can't technically break the door because you work with the accounting department, and they're going to charge us for it, and that's coming out of our. They'll be talking about this forever. Okay? Paralysis through analysis. No, and that's why you train beforehand. So when you get there, you make the call, and you respond, and hopefully you made the right call. Okay? When I was a sergeant lieutenant, I was in charge of some pretty ugly situations. And in prison, I love prison. Because our response time on the street, if you get there in 5 minutes, you're doing great. In a prison, we're there within 10, 15 seconds. That's incredibly fast. And when we get there, we have the weapons. We're the ones armed to the teeth. We're coming in numbers. You're driving up in maybe a motorcycle by yourself. What the hell are you gonna do? That's right. No, they could never convince me to go to the street. I like being a place where I have the advantage. You get in there, you use your technology, whatever that may be. I remember we got stun guns and tasers. I thought that was wonderful. Then they gave us batons. Oh yeah, keep coming. Give us more tools to work with. It was wonderful. Technology does help, but you still gotta have the person trained to use that technology correctly in the right situation, whether it's on the street or in a prison.
An example would be to use a taser, you have to get tased, at least for the military.
Oh, we got tased. Yeah, we got tased. Anybody ever been tased? Gassed? Yeah.
Oh, I've been gassed plenty.
Ooh, boy. I remember getting gassed at the academy. Oh my God. Talk about, you just want to get out of there, right? It's nasty. But at Tracy, where I started, we used more gas than there was only 12 total, all the other 11 prisons put together in 1 year. We were known for, we just throw gas at anybody. We did. I come home reeking of gas at least 2 days out of the week. Every damn week. So you get immune to it, you get used to it. Patrol function, strategy, tactic, goal. The goal is the outcome. How do we get there? The tactic. This is what we're gonna do. The strategy is the best way to get it done. So aggressive, enforce law vigorously. Give the message that crime will not be tolerated. It's okay, but it can be abused very easily. So you gotta watch that. Rapid response, they monitor track the time for the calls. Technology, identify criminals, target crimes. They're always looking for ways to identify people. The latest that I heard of is called the gate. Anybody ever heard of that? How they track the gait, how somebody walks. Because you can change your appearances, especially with makeups and different types of things you can apply. They call appliances, yeah, that's what they call them. To change your features. Prosthetics. But the way a person walks, even if you try to change it, the FBI is the one researching it. It doesn't change that much, and they can distinguish. And they're using it in Europe, actually. That's where it's being tested right now. And they found it to be pretty useful. So hopefully they'll apply it in other areas. But technology, yeah.
What does a criminal gait look like?
It just depends on how they walk. Gait meaning how they walk.
I mean, like, what is
No,
a
no,
criminal
not that they're a
walk
criminal or whether they're not. It's to identify a suspect.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you have a bolo out and you know this is a person of interest,
Oh,
okay?
that makes
So
more
yeah, the
sense.
gait, just like your fingerprints, is put on file. Okay, and everybody should have fingerprints on file. That's a whole nother thing. The department started doing it years ago, getting DNA and fingerprints. We're playing catch up. But anyway, but the gait, yeah, it's how the person walks. So it's just another feature that they could pick up on a known suspect, okay? They could distinguish one from the other. Investigations. I've had in class say, oh, I want to be a detective. You know, I want to do this. That's great. But you don't get hired on as that. You got to pay your dues and then work your way up to this kind of work. Investigative work less visible, ideally. You don't want to be known. Work closely with patrol. Many police departments maintain separate units. Just about everybody does for accountability. Different investigative units, whether it's narcotic, vice, whatever it may be. Prisons, we have the goon squad, gangs, we had a special gang unit, we had a canine unit. So everybody has whatever their needs require. So if you want to be an investigator, pay attention to good investigative techniques. So how do we detect what we're looking for? Somebody earlier said surveillance. We surveil, right? We're looking for something out of the ordinary. If you're good at puzzles, right? Figuring out a puzzle, you may make a good detective. Interview witnesses, gather evidence, record events, collect facts. Sherlock Holmes, right? You've got the movies and all that. I love watching those movies. God, they're so far-fetched though. But it's still interesting. Through observation, if you have a good power of observation, you may make a good detective. If you can interview witnesses and get to the truth. I spend hours upon hours upon hours interviewing people of interest and witnesses. And so far, I'm not the best, but you can tell when somebody's lying. Okay, so if you're interviewing somebody and you know they're lying, do you just call them on it right away?
No.
Let them go for a while. Yeah, let them hang themselves. Just keep going and just keep going. And what else did you like to tell me? And just keep track. Eventually you're going to drop the hammer on them. And then come back and say, okay, let's go over this again. If you ask a question, you should have a good idea what the answer is. Or don't ask that question, you're not ready for it yet. You might not know exactly what the answer is, but you should have a good idea what you're looking for. Okay, so different techniques. What isn't up there, and that's documenting. You've gotta be able to document your findings. And the better you are at documenting it, the better you will be at presenting it. And that is a highly sought after quality. General coverage, canvass neighborhoods, make observations, interviews, door-to-door type of deal. Informative data, you can be a computer person and still be one of the best cops on the force. Maybe you're not a sworn officer, but there's nothing better than good IT. An officer comes to the IT and says, this is what I'm looking for. Can you narrow down my search? And they get to work on that keyboard. And within minutes, they go, okay, here's a list that you might want to talk to. They thank you. They just helped you. Sting operations. There was a sad one that happened in Fresno. I wasn't a part of it, but some people that I knew did run it. And they announced on the radio that there was winners of this, I don't even know what they called it, not a competition, but it was a giveaway. And these people were going to be announced as the winners. They would be receiving notifications in the mail, and all they had to do was go down to the convention center to claim their reward. Well, what they were was a bunch of parole violators that absconded. There were a bunch of people that were wanted. They had warrants out for their arrests. Yeah. And so they went and they sent out all these notices. Be surprised how many people showed up. And they had the lobby, they had the prizes. I mean, they went all out. But when they went to get their reward, of course, the officers would come out and say, can you follow me over here? And they make the arrest, out of sight. They nailed so many people. Makes it sad as one guy showed up. And this is a story that was told me with his 2 kids. They were small, about 3 years old, 5 years old. And he was trying to be the best dad possible. I think he had won a bike or something. And so he showed up, and the officers didn't have the heart to make the arrest. They actually told him, you need to get out of here. And they kinda chased him out the door and told him, "Hey, this is a spoon, you gotta go." And they kicked him out. They go, "We'll catch him later." They just couldn't do it. Okay, proves a couple things. They're weak. No, they're not weak. They have a heart. Okay, they have a heart.
What if he knew and he was like, just in case I'm with my kids?
You never know. It's possible, but it didn't look like. And discretion is a big part of policing. On that day, at that time, those officers made the call not to make the arrest. They just couldn't do it. If it was the right call, they don't know. But that was the call they made. That's the one they got to live with. Okay, undercover pose as criminals, pose as victims. Considered necessary element of work. Psychological problems for the officer. There's a lot of movies, people going undercover, and when they come out, they find themselves aligned more with the criminal element than as police officers. They lived that life for so long, they bought into it. Quick one is the vice when a person has to go as a prostitute, male, female, and they actually have to sell themselves as a prostitute. Of course, they don't commit the act up until the money's exchanged, but still, they have to live that life, act the part. It's tough. Again, I never had to do that. Don't think I'd want to. Investigative function, elevating, improving, and using. Okay, so we're elevating investigations every day with different technologies, different approaches. Paperwork, a lot of paperwork. That's why I said, if you're a good writer, okay, you might be a better cop than you think. Improved investigations, patrol officers should have greater responsibility, and they do now. Specialized units can bring expertise, collection of physical evidence. We found in the department, especially dealing with homicides, you got a body laying out there, you got weapons, you got witnesses. I was gonna worry more about the overall scene. I'm not gonna really worry about making sure all the evidence is collected. We had a special unit, they work for the Goon Squad. These are investigative officers. I call them, they come in, their sole responsibility, process all the evidence. Tag it, bag it, draw the maps for me, so I didn't have to worry about that part. I worried more about the interviews. I worried more about the medical reports. Okay, who did what to who type of thing, try to put it together. And then technology, enhanced investigative process. We walked in this morning, I saw them working on the surveillance cameras up here. It's about time we get those up and running. The more, the better. That's just my opinion. So discussion question, let's see if this is good. Recall a recent television show you have watched that deals with policing or detective work. There's a lot of them out there. What type of impression of policing or detective work did you get from the television show? How does this correspond with what you've learned so far here? And how can you explain the differences? Okay, so who's watched a good show about either police or investigations? Anything. Let's go over here. What did you see?
I haven't seen it recently, but I used to like binge it all the time. It's called Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck?
I think so.
I
He has
think
like that mustache.
Big mustache, yeah, it's Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
And what did you think?
I think it like basically taught me that like there are some cops where they're willing to do things out of the book to get a result. When technically it's not right, but sometimes you have to make that choice. Yeah, you have to make that choice.
There was a hand up back here? Yeah, no, right here.
I was just thinking of The Mentalist. It wasn't.
Oh, The
so much
Mentalist,
actual
yeah.
Policing, but it was like the guy who put all the mental.
I remember that. It was a little bit out there. You have one?
Columbo.
Oh, Columbo, that was a good one.
Because he always
Peter
thought-
Falk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he-
used to get the weird ways of like.
He'd walk away and then, but wait a
Yeah.
minute, and then he'd turn around and come back.
Yeah, and he'd
Uh,
always play stupid.
Yeah, he was good at that one. You have one?
Breaking Bad, even though it's more about like
That's a guy that never died.
it's more about like the criminal,
Yeah,
but one of the characters works for the DEA,
yeah.
and you see a lot of him being a detective and a lot of what he does.
I tried to watch that show because the guy supposedly was gonna die of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He never died. I lost interest. I heard it's pretty good. Let me go
It's really good.
back here.
The one I've been watching is The Rookie.
That's newer.
It's a new
Yeah.
one.
Well,
Yeah.
we're on season 5 now.
Well,
but-
you're in, like, it's.
I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Damn, I can't remember the guy's name. He had another show where he was a writer and he used to Castle. That's
That's what I was
it.
gonna say.
You're gonna say Castle?
I was gonna
I
say-
used to like Castle. Yeah.
He was in Castle and he was in Firefly.
Firefly. That was the other one. Okay, you have one.
I was gonna make a
comment first about the DEA agent. He lives here, the actor in Temecula.
What's his name?
Oh my gosh, Dean Norris.
Dean
My
Norris.
sister met him.
From Breaking Bad?
He owns a restaurant in Temecula.
He also owns a dancing and acting facility that's like nearby.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I don't know.
The one that I'd seen recently, I know it's not the best representation, but the cops that are in Fight Club.
Fight Club. Wasn't that a movie?
Yeah.
It was a movie. Okay, anybody else? Another example? Yeah.
The show Mindhunter, it's a little older, it's from 2016 or something.
I heard of it.
They're FBI agents in the 70s, and they're interviewing like serial killers to get their perspective on things. They're developing profiling and behavioral science.
Okay, interesting. Every one show that we mentioned, right, about an hour long, mostly about an hour long, and within that 1 hour, there's a crime, there's an investigation, they usually make an arrest, right, and they prosecuted them. Especially Castle was the one I knew of. That doesn't happen.
It's not that short.
Yeah, I wish it did, yeah.
It's not a show, but I was playing this game called Hardline, which is just about cops, and I thought it was really funny that they're like, let's shoot the guy that's driving the car in front of a bunch of civilians. I'm like, I'm pretty sure a cop would never do that.
No.
Because then the car, literally after they do it, the car just starts going all
Yeah,
over
no.
the place. I'm like, that's like,
No. There's a lot of restrictions on how you shoot, when you shoot. Even high-speed pursuit now, that's all being regulated. But in the movies and in these TV shows, they make it look so simple, so swift, you know, that, wow, in 1 hour we can do all of this. But then you get to experience it. Maybe a friend or a relative is being accused of something, and it takes months. You go to court, and you're wondering, okay, today's the day. And then they continue it. Say, okay, we'll be back in another month. And you're looking, what did we do? Nothing. Somebody wasn't ready to proceed. And it just gets drug on and drug on. I worked on one trial 3 years. 3 years before we finally got to court. We went through the trial and then the sentencing. It was a death penalty, but 3 freaking years of my life working on this one case. It takes time. Okay, that's the distinguishing thing. Don't believe what you see on TV. These are movies. When they show a prison and they show the officers getting somebody out of a transportation vehicle and they're sitting there with shotguns. Okay, or they have a handgun and they're telling, okay, you over here, let's go. And bull! It's called grounding a weapon. You never do that when there's inmate population. You elevate that gun. Yeah.
I was gonna say they wouldn't make a very fun TV show.
No.
Instead they're watching porn.
Nobody would watch my show. If it was based on reality, it would be the most boring show. You'd never watch it. But it'd be factually accurate. Big deal, right? Hollywood doesn't want it.
Yeah, it's something you
So the difference is, that's why. It'd be so boring what it's really like that they have to condense it, make it exciting, sprinkle in the drama, right? Special effects. So we get hooked and we watch it. I don't watch those shows. I can't. I try. There's one called SWAT.
Oh, my dad loves that one.
Thank you.
It is the fakest. The acting is so bad. Yeah.
That's me in the military movies. I can't watch them because
Military.
they're just so, I'm like, this is so
It's not right. It's so wrong, but it's entertaining, so people will watch it.
I think it was SWAT, but I think they punched some dude in the mouth to get his blood, and they're like, see, his blood was in the scene, it's the same blood.
That would make sense. Yeah. No, that wouldn't be admissible. And anyway, you get the point that in real life it doesn't work that way, but real life doesn't make good TV. So make sure if you're watching someone on TV, don't think that's the way it really is. Community policing. We're going to stop with community policing because I've gone on long enough. Bless you. Consists of a return to earlier style. Back in the day, we learned the first, historically, the way we policed each other is in a village, the hue and cry, the watchers. People were responsible for each other. That's just the way it was. Community policing tries to do that, to unite the community, to form that partnership between the police and the community. But the biggest thing The hardest thing to do is develop that trust. Okay, you gotta build trust. And officers gotta understand the importance of building that trust. It takes time. Okay, so you first gotta sell it within your own agency. Then once you get the buy-in from the cops, you gotta put them out on the street and convince the community, I'm here to help you, I'm not your enemy. I wanna help you. That's a tough sell. But if it works really well. An officer's only as good as his resources. So if you can recruit these ears and eyes on the street that will feed you the information, you're gonna be able to do your job more effectively. Get you.
Yeah, I was reading about community policing and I can understand it, like how we've had it for so long.
Yeah.
How we've been using it, it's been effective. But since we have such a growing population in
Yeah.
bigger counties like LA County,
Yeah.
and Ventura County, is it easier or more effective to even have community policing? Because how do you have such a big community that's gonna actually work with each
That's the
other?
$1 million question. How do you get these big communities to buy in? How do you get these communities that suffer from high rates of crime, high rates of gang activity, to trust you and not fear that gang or that criminal element? It's tough. And it doesn't work a lot of the times. But when it does work well. Okay? As long as everybody is working together and nobody's taking advantage of the system. Okay, it has to be a partnership. And that's tough. It really is. And then they go on. Watch the rest of this PowerPoint. I uploaded this into Canvas, so you don't have to watch the whole video. You go straight to the PowerPoint. There's about another 9-10 slides. And they talk about community policing. And it's really good strategy when implemented properly. But that's the problem, is getting people to buy into it. Okay? Questions about what we talked about?
Awesome.
Nada. Okay, sit tight for a minute. Shut this down.